Hey guys, what's up? I know there's a lot of people that have talked about doing this 360-degree camera system right up, and I don't think anyone's done it. So I've been working with Jesse Infotainment on this. He's given me a lot of part numbers and information. So I am going to try and do a write-up and video parts of it so that other people can do this a lot easier. This has been hours of research. Looking for parts, looking for schematics. I will have a Google Drive with all of the part numbers and all of the schematics needed. I've got everything here. So whatever you need for this, I should be able to provide it. You shouldn't have to go out and get anything else. So I'm starting with the front emblem. I'm trying to change this out without taking the grill off. So I've already got, as you can see, one nut out. These kind of just thread on to the plastic. I guess they cut their own threads. As you can see, here's the new emblem with the camera. These just turn and cut threads into that plastic piece. So they are 10 millimeter. And is what I did was I actually took a 10 millimeter short extension. I went in through the grill right here. See if I can show this. And went down, found the bolt, put the socket on it, and started taking it loose. This is hard to do while holding a camera. While I was doing that, I had this magnet down in there so that I didn't drop the nut. I was actually able to spin it off by hand and grab it at the end. But I'm going to proceed with doing this. If I have to take the grill off, I'll video that. I do have the procedure to take the grill off. You have to remove the air dam here, and I believe you have to remove this bottom fascia piece. That's why I don't want to do this. On my last truck, when I took that off, it shipped the paint up under here. So you just got to be careful. Something handy would be some pry tools. Oh, well, I'll drop that one. Maybe one of these so that you can pull these pins out. And then there's some of these as well. All right, I'm going to see if I can get this emblem off without pulling the grill. I'll check back. This is your washer nozzle. So that'll come out and spray the camera when you activate your windshield wipers, or when you activate your windshield washers, I'm sorry. Here's where you're gonna hook your washer hose up to. This is the washer hose that will hook up to that. That is ML3Z17A605 Charlie. From there, you're going to hook another washer hose, ML3Z17A605-Bravo. This washer hose is going to go from this piece, and it's going to go and tee onto your hose by your battery right here. So you'll remove this joint, and I haven't done this yet, so I can't speak entirely on how this is going to go, but you're going to remove this joint. Let me get some light over here. And once you get that removed, you'll put that T connector in and run this washer hose up to the front emblem. Here is that T-fitting there, if you can see that. So, and then you'll have a short camera jumper. This is ML3Z10 Echo 929 Charlie Delta Bravo. This is going to go from your emblem, and it's going to connect to this coax jumper here that is included in every vehicle, and it is ran through the harness. So this is going to jump up, it's going to connect to this. I'll show you that in a minute. And then that harness actually goes over here and comes, this is on the driver's side. Here's your airbox. It comes into this connector. I don't remember the number for this connector offhand right now. But this is where I think your front and your rear camera actually go through. So it'll pin into this, and I will be showing that in a bit because you're going to have to run a jumper from here to your IPMA in the footwell of the driver's side. So let me run these, and I'll show you how it goes together. there is a tab. I've already got everything loose. There's a tab right here. This goes down in that hole. So you're going to push that tab, lift up on this. Your camera connector is going to unplug, as you see. And then this is just a dummy plug so that water doesn't get in it. For that, you're going to lift this tab here, and you're going to push that out like that. Bear with me on a lot of this, guys. I don't normally make videos and film, so you're just gonna have to kind of take it as I give it to you. So now the emblem connector, make sure I don't scratch this emblem up, is actually going to slip up into that boot, and then your harness connector will go on it, and I'll show you what that looks like when I'm done. All right, so took this washer hose, connected it here with this T, and I don't know exactly how this runs from factory, but you guys can run it however you want. My path, I ran it, looked like it's got these tabs on it here. Let me get a light. It's got these tabs on it where you can connect it to the plastic along the truck. And so I ran it down behind that fuse box. It goes back behind there, you can see it there, up under, and I brought it through there and up by the washer, the windshield washer fluid container. And then if you look, I don't know if this is for this or not, I believe it is, where your harness goes for your camera, you've got little hooks. And there's one there, and there's actually one down in there, if you can see that on video. And then I brought it up, connected it there. Again, I don't know if this is where all this connects, but these kind of lined up. And then your short jumper, your short washer hose piece, I think comes up through that hole beside your camera connector, and then they connect together there. That was the nicest route I could find that made sense. Alright, so I'm building the harness to go from the IPMA, which is the old one. I got the new one over beside me, but to go from the IPMA to the third brake light camera, the cargo cam. And Ford, their actual process, if you're going to do any work, is to use these non-insulated crimps, and then you put heat shrink over them. I'm using the heat shrink that has adhesive in it. It gets really hard when it's cold. Now, I was wanting to let you all know, if you're going to build a harness like this, don't make the mistake I did. I didn't think about the green wire, so your LIN connector here, it goes into C242B, not C. So I noticed if I would have kept the harness the way I had it, these would have been kind of in a bind going over to C, because green would have been trying to stretch to go to B. So I didn't want to, but I extended that green just a hair so that it'll curve in there nicely. And I got all this wire off of ProWire USA. It's very cheap. For 100 foot here, it's like $6 for 22 gauge. It's very, very nice wire. It's actually real copper, very sturdy stuff. And then I got this as well, the braided sleeving from there. And you can see I've got it over the entire harness. Measured at first how much I needed in the truck, and then pulled it out on each reel and put this sleeving on. I'll show you when it's all done. I'm going to put heat shrink over this, obviously, and extend it a little bit. But the white is going to be actually for, if you're looking at the drawing here, I know I've got a mess here, but the white is going to be your the CBB25 here listed, supposed to go to C265-5. That connector is actually in the passenger side footwell, way up on the firewall. It's very hard to get to, and speaking to Jesse Infotainment, he's not even sure if that connector is, he's not even sure if this here is wired to the battery box. So from your battery junction box down to 265, he's not sure that wire's even there. So instead of dealing with that, trying to get to that connector, he recommended to just tap power off of the IPMA. So I am pulling power off of this connector here, pin 1, I believe it is. Let me look. That is C242A. It's pin 1 here. That is a 18 gauge wire. I hope that all of this comes out on video okay. And you can see that the existing color is white. This called for white with an orange tracer. I didn't order tracer wire, so I just used white. I'm going to tap it in. I'll probably, and I'll show that I think, but I'll probably just cut that wire and splice onto it with one of these bigger connectors, and instead of trying to repin it out or something. So, all right, just wanted to give an update. I think that's about it. I believe I showed that we've got the door panels off. I've got a lot of stuff taken apart here. Here are your door connectors. I don't know if I've showed these yet. So in this connector here, your gray connector there, if that even comes out, yeah, you can see that big hole. That is, I think it's pin 12 if I remember. I'd have to look at that diagram again. But that's where your coax right here is going to go. We're still working on getting that through the boot. And then here are your door connectors on the truck side. And you see your other side of that coax there. So your coax is going to have to come in up through this hole right here, I believe. I haven't tried yet, but this is where I believe we're going to go through. Come out the other side into the back of that connector. Here's all your IPMA connectors. You got A is this one here in my hand. You've got the white wire there by my thumb. Then you've got the black connector, which is B, and the gray connector, which is C. And these are for your trailer module, if you have that. And this is your brown IPMA connector. You will actually be pulling the rear view camera, or the tailgate camera, the rear camera, out of this connector and pinning it into the green one. I may be able to show that a little better when I do it, but the documentation will show you what pin that is. I don't remember exactly without looking at it. I'm trying to keep these videos short, guys, and just give you all the information that's needed. Obviously, this isn't a demonstration on how to install all this. It's kind of just a walkthrough, so that hopefully it makes it easier on you guys. It is very involved, and you see I haven't got this in yet. We're still trying to get it into this connector here, but it's very involved, and if you're not comfortable with taking all this stuff apart, I would not dig into this, because it's a lot of work. All right, I just wanted to show you this real quick. So we had trouble when my buddy was over here helping me. We couldn't figure out how that we were going to get this coax up through this boot. I pulled the boot out of the door so that way I could get it straight. And I took actually a fiberglass rod that I've got. So you're just going to want something straight. And I cut a little hole in that boot where I wanted the coax to go through. And then I just fished that fiberglass up through it. If I was to do it again when I'm doing on the other door, I will probably just push the fiberglass rod through and see where it pokes, and then I'll snip it and push it through instead of trying to get it through that exact hole. But I wanted to pass this along because that was a question of ours, and hopefully this helps you guys. Alright, so the next thing I wanted to show you is this white insert inside the plug. You're going to have to pull that out in order to insert your coax. Otherwise you won't be able to get it in there. It's not going to lock in. Alright guys, I just wanted to show you, so I got the harness coming out. Obviously it's not finished up yet, but Got the harness from the IPMA location, ran up to the third brake light. And when y'all are doing this, you want to stagger your crimps so that it keeps that harness as small as possible. Makes it nice and neat. Obviously I'm going to heat shrink this stuff, but these pins here are going to push into this connector. And here's your drawing that you're going to use for pinout. That is connector C904, if that'll focus. But you can see there's 5 wires there. The ground's already there. The other 2 wires are not on this drawing. Those are for your, I think, your running lights and your brake light. All right, guys. So for your third brake light connector, you see I got the harness done here. You got these 2 white tabs on the sides here. You got one there, and you got one there. You're going to take your fingers and pull out like that on both sides at the same time, and then push towards you if you're looking directly at the connector. That white guide or locking mechanism will slide forward, and then you'll take your pins and insert them. The body of the pin should point down. So basically the pin will go in just like that right there. The body of the pin the topmost point of the pin will point towards the bottom of that connector. Okay, you're going to be using 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9. 12's already pinned out for the ground, which will be on your drawing. But these right here are going to be your pin numbers for this C904. Those are the pin numbers that you use. Okay. All right, so I don't know if you're as OCD as I am, but your connector obviously was connected there with this plastic push pin thing, okay? You had to take that out in order to get to it unless you pulled it out of the headliner somehow, which isn't hard. I can barely get my hand up in there and mine are small. So I unplugged the light, the new brake light, and pulled the wire over to this side. I was able to push a little bit and get it decently straight. And then I took a long flathead screwdriver with a flashlight and got on the connector where obviously there was no wiring, and was able to just nudge it over and position it right under that hole where I could see that push pin was right under the hole when I was looking with the light. Then I went in the truck and pushed up on the headliner and was able to pop it right in there pretty easily. So if that's something that might bother you, then that was how I did it. All right, guys. When I tell you this has been probably the most difficult part of this job, I really and truly mean that. This has been so stressful. I've spent hours on this connector, and I don't know why it was so hard for me. Maybe it was just this truck or what. But after talking with Jesse Infotainment, he showed me that I was doing this correctly. He actually was able to show me a connector and how to tear it apart. I think that my issue was that a lot of my wiring wasn't straight coming out of the back of here. So what I did to get this apart was, well, I screamed and cussed a lot and bloodied my hands, but besides that, I straightened all the wires up the best I could, and I actually took a pair of needle nose pliers. Wow, they're actually bloody. And I took these needle nose pliers. Let me see if I can clip you guys up here. Let's see what I can do. All right, that should be a decent view. So I took the needle nose pliers and I stuck them in the end of this connector right here like this, if you can see that. And then I actually, at first I tried pulling on the top and the bottom of that connector. Tried pulling here, and I tried pulling down at the bottom as well. And could not get it to come off. So finally, after tons of frustration, and this has been several days I've tried this, I stuck the needle nose in here and actually just wiggled kind of in a up and down motion to edge it off both sides. And it finally came loose. inside of there, you're going to have a white plug. It's going to look like, if I don't drop it in the engine bay, it's going to look like this here, okay? That is going to be sticking out of the back of your black connector here. Now, I tried grabbing it at first without pulling this black piece off, and you couldn't get enough leverage. Once I got the black piece off, I was able to put needle nose on it about like this here and pry against the connector with leverage, and it came out fairly easy. All right, so I'm not going to video the entire process of removing the door panel, but I am going to show you kind of where everything's located. I will provide the workshop manual as well. It'll be on my Google Drive, so you should be able to see the same info I'm seeing. But you'll pull your cover off that goes over your mirror connector. You can just grab it and squeeze and pull, or you can pry it off from the sides with a trim remover tool. I have yanked them off a couple times and noticed I've got close to scuffing this, so leave that up to you. But there's a bolt here behind it. There's a trim panel that goes under your handle. You're going to pry from the side closest to your speaker. There's actually a little hole in that trim piece. You'll pry out there, and then you're going to lift the top out first, because you've got two tabs that go down in the door. So you want to pull out, and then you want to get something behind over here. I used a panel tool and pop that loose, that clip, and then you can pull it out. You got two bolts behind there. Over here on your door reflector, you've got a bolt behind it, so you pull that out. And then you've got 6 clips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you've got various connectors behind the door, and I will show you how to unplug your door latch assembly as well, how to remove that. It shows you in the workshop manual as well. Alright, so this is the passenger side door. I did forget to tell you about those bottom 2 bolts. There's one there and one there. If you look at the bottom of the door, you can see them. There's nothing covering them. But for your actual lock indicator, or your lock, you squeeze here on your blue connector, pull out. That one's really easy to get off. But this one was kind of tricky. I don't know, maybe not to some. There's a lever, I'll show you. That was really poor demonstration. There is a lever right here where my finger's touching, and you will take your fingers and you will pull back on it like that. You see it moving? And that is how you unlatch that. Okay, so since these are pretty difficult, I figured I'd show you this as well. You're going to need a really big flathead screwdriver. And if you look at this, it's probably hard to tell in the video. Try to put some more light on it for you. That just messes with the camera. Well, I don't know if I can turn my... There you go. Okay. So if you can see it, there is actually a little dimple right here on the rubber boot, okay? When you press that, it actually presses on this clip right here on the top. There's one on the top, and there's one on the bottom as well. So you want to, when that boot is up against the truck, I just put my flathead in that boot and then pried. Once you get one side out, you'll want something like a flathead, or I used one of these panel pry tools, and I did the bottom first. I stuck it up under that lip and held it, and then I pried the top out. It does take some force. It almost feels like you might break it, but it'll pop out. Alright guys, this info came from Jesse. So you've got your 2 IPMA image connectors. You've got your brown here, and then you've got your new green one on the new IPMA, correct? So the pin number 2 for the rear camera is going to move the pin on the brown, is going to move to pin 2 on the green. And I'm going to show you how to get these out. So these connectors do have the pin numbers on them, so that's probably never going to focus on that, but there's a pin number. Those pins are numbered. Pin 2 is the bottom left there. So I'm going to take this purple connector off. Let me see if I can get this clamped somewhere, maybe right here. Nope, that ain't gonna work. Okay, well, I'm not gonna be able to show you, but you're gonna pry this connector up and off, okay? And it's gonna look like this when you break it off, when you take it off. This one is already off here. And then once you do that, you will take a flathead or a pick and pry up on these little, I don't know what you want to call that, clips, I guess. You'll pry up on that and then pull your coax out. And then for the new connector, you just shove it in. With the, you have to have the purple piece pulled out, of course, but you just shove it in, it locks in, you put your purple piece back in and snap it on. All right, I want to show you guys some stuff. So I've got my 2 IPMA connectors here. I ran the green one along the brown and zip tied them together, and I made sure to follow all the way back to there. Of course, the driver's side mirror goes through there. I know I pointed up above earlier in a earlier video, but I went through here and came out the door connector, and then for my passenger side, I was going to show you guys what I did. You see that coil there? That's your passenger side coax, and the reason I did that is because the coax is actually made to follow the harness, which goes under the console. That's not really feasible unless you want to go through a lot of work, so I ran it up behind the dash. But you see there, that coil, and if you follow that, it actually goes up above the brake pedal bracket, or actually, it's actually going through it. It's following that black harness. You see it zip tied together, but it goes all the way over and then comes down right there. I don't know if you can see that. It looks like I'm getting, there you go. And I actually took my fiberglass fish rod from the other side and was able to fish it through. If you go in the passenger side footwell and you pull that carpet piece down, you can see behind your air duct. You just got to watch. You got 2 sensors that are in the duct with wiring. You want to watch not to damage those. But then I was able to pull it through to the passenger side and run it over to the door. So wanted to throw that out there in case you were looking for a way to neatly run that. That's kind of hidden and out of the way. Now for your IPMA, I'm about to tackle that, and you see I've got my harness here right next to me, but I'm going to steal power from this connector A. Mine has a white wire. If you look at the pinout document, I'll just show you here if you can see that. It looks like you're getting some lines from this light behind me. Sorry, again, I'm not the best videographer, but you've got 2 options for pin 1. It could be a white wire or yellow-orange. I'm sure it depends on your options. Mine is white, which means it's 18 gauge and fuse 37. So I'm going to strip this harness back, and I'm going to cut that and splice into it. And if you look up here, I haven't pulled it yet, but there is a connector or holder up here that's holding the harness on, and I'm going to try and free that and get the harness down a little bit closer to me so that I don't have to work way up in there. All right, I know it's all a mess, but it's kind of how it is when you're doing this. So this trailer module here, when you're removing it, you see this little clip right here. If you do not want to, you don't have to pull this metal bracket out right here. You don't have to take those 2 bolts out like the removal procedure says. You can actually just stick your finger on the other side of this module, push this clip, and pull it down towards you. You still have enough room to get to the 2 bolts on the top of the IPMA and to pull the IPMA out, so it's your choice on whether or not you want to do that. I was actually able to even get a Milwaukee battery ratchet up behind it. I took it out because I didn't know at first, but I just now tested that I could get the ratchet behind it. Now, if you do take it out, that pin that's in the middle right there is a pain. I tried squeezing it with needle nose and pushing up. It was still hard, so I ended up just kind of forcing the IPMA and the bracket upward and getting that plastic push pin loose.